from Pantazzi. Today for the weekend podcast, what I'd like to do is bring out something a little humorous, but it really is serious in the martial arts. For many years, we've done seizing techniques, and we've been working with the nerves of the body and the vascular tissues as we get deeper into the body structures rather than just standard punching and kicking. And what I describe in almost all my seminars is how to grab the wrist properly, how to grab an arm properly, how to lock onto a person, even on the neck or ankle. We use a special grip, and we primarily use the seizing position out of the bubishi called the iron claw hand. All right, but in that iron claw, there's a subset. Okay, and the subset is I liken to a Spidey grip. Okay, now Spider-Man, when he shoots out his webs, he uses primarily his two inner fingers to shoot the web. Now those two fingers are strength fingers. They're longer and stronger than the outer two fingers, and it also offers a lot of security and a measurement system to go. Say I grab a wrist, the person by the wrist. Now, I want to be accurate on the nerves. So to find those nerves, what I want to do is I want to actually have a measurement system. Now, the small finger or the index finger on the opposite side is going to offer that distancing that I need from the bend of the wrist or the thick part of the hand to access those nerves underlying. Okay? And that, with the strength of your hands, is going to give you a better grip on someone's nerves. Even if you grab into someone's forearm, say at this radial nerve target right out through here, you're not going to want to push with your index finger because first of all, it's far weaker. Second of all, if the person yanks away, which he might do from the pain inflict, you're going to maybe dislocate a finger or tear tendons or ligaments. With the middle two fingers activated, now I wouldn't hold up my other two fingers like this, I'm just doing this for the camera purpose. If the person pulls, there is no damage because the index finger, or if it went the opposite way with a further extension of the person, the small finger, the metatarsals or metacarpals, on the hand are going to stop that dislocation or ligament damage. So that's a stronger position with your hand, whether you're grabbing wrist, you're grabbing forearm, even if you're locking around on someone's neck. Sorry, I don't have an uke today. So I just wanted to bring that aspect out for you. But I also want to go into it just a little deeper because this doesn't just ramify on grabbing people. Okay, this ramifies on all your martial arts. Let's take an example. Excuse me if I pop out of the screen every once in a while. Say we're working with a baton or a stick, whether it's a police baton, an extendable baton, or whatever the case may be, even a stick. Okay, you don't want to grab it with a full power grab, okay, because then your mobility is severely limited. You don't have the ability to turn. You're going to have to use more of your arm, which is a very inefficient use. If you put your strength primarily here, again, keeping your fingers down, not sticking out for demonstration purposes, here you can have much better flexibility and a much better control of that weapon. You can have a very fast range. It's not going to be determined by arm movement, just the wrist twisting actions, which is a much faster and reliable action that we saw portrayed in the 6G hands filming, where that's where you got your real good effects from your Kyusho targeting, not from the ballistic strength. So even in a baton or a stick, you're going to have much more flexibility, speed, and control over the weapon using those two fingers or the Spidey grip. Okay, let's go a little further. Say we're working with a fixed weapon. Again, if you squeeze this weapon and you're trying to turn, you're going to have a tougher time. Yes, you don't want to let go of the knife per se if you hit into a body structure. Say you're hitting onto someone's arm and you strike down all the way to the bone. Okay, and you strike that, you don't want the knife popping out of your hand. Okay, but if at the same time you're trying to slash with a full power grip on it, you're not going to get the flexibility. You're not going to get the control or the angle or the direction that you really want. By using those two fingers in a more of a Spidey grip, again, not extended, okay, but just putting the power there, you have a lot more flexibility and you still have the control of the weapon. It's not going to come out of your hands. Especially the more you train with these two fingers, you become much more adept at it. Okay? Even taking a much larger knife, okay, and doing the cut. You don't want to use the full power cut, unless of course you're using this as the survival knife that it is to maybe chop down a tree. Then maybe a full power motion with the hand would work better. However, I want you to think about this. If you're taking your full arm power, you're going to be shocking your joints. You're going to be shocking your hand, you're going to be shocking the elbow and shoulder, okay, as you come down into that penetration. It's also not so much the ballistic force of the blade, it's the cutting force of the blade. So if you flick into it, you're going to get a deeper penetration with a lot less damage or ramification on your arm. And it's the same thing if you're doing a knifing technique and you lock out that elbow by mistake, or it's just the way you're throwing that motion, you could run into problems with your joints. Okay? By using more of the wrist, you're going to have less of a repercussion on your upper arm. All right, so again, even in a larger scale weapon, that grip is going to work a lot better for you. Now here it goes even further. Let's go into law enforcement, for example. Okay, you got a pair of cuffs out, you're ready to subdue or to secure a perpetrator. When you're doing this motion with a pair of handcuffs, you can't just like hold the thing any particular way. You want to grab at the inner chain. And as you do that, now you're going to be able to lock in that handcuff and make it workable. At the same time, if you're used to working with this grip, okay, you're going to have the flexibility to turn to get to the opposite side if you need to, or do some techniques with maybe your wrist, your knuckles on their wrists or their elbows, or even on their head, to make sure that you secure the individual from resistance or escape. All right. So even with a pair of handcuffs, this is a solid technique for you to work with. But let's take it one step further. Even on a firearm, if you look at the firearm, now this is a very compact little gun here, and my fingers, as you notice, it's a small gun. For personal carry, it works very well. But you're going to notice that it's a little short here, okay? It only has 7 shots in there, 6 in the magazine. Okay, so what I need to do is I've had to develop that strength just for shooting, for when you're doing your target shooting or whatever sport shooting or tactical shooting course you happen to be through. Okay, so when you're holding, that's the primary grip. Okay, because again, if you're trying to grab with the whole finger, you can't grab with the power of the index finger here because it's off trigger. Okay, and if you try to use your power finger, or you're used to using a power finger for grabbing, that's going to be a heavier pull on that trigger. You want to develop a lighter touch on the trigger finger so you have the control, so you don't just jerk the weapon every time you pull the trigger one way or another. Okay, so that's one thing on a smaller gun. Okay. Taking it up to a larger caliber, even though it's still a compact, I still have the same problem. My finger's still down here. So again, now I have to really secure this. This is a .40 caliber. It has a pretty decent kick to it. So if I don't have the power to grab that, okay, it's going to escape on me. And I want to make sure that it's a nice tight lock. Again, my index finger has to be loose and dexterous, and my training has to be that I'm always solid and strong here, like I was for the baton, the weapon, the grabbing of the wrist. Okay, and at the same time I want a little bit more control with the index finger so I don't have that heavy grip. So I need to develop this in my martial practices over time. Now, that again is a short barrel. I could have gotten the extension on there, and I can actually get my small finger on there, but it's still going to be primarily those 2 fingers that control it, and I'll show you why in a second. Take an even a bigger handle weapon, where this time my finger actually fits on that very securely. Okay? Now, if I try to squeeze these 3 fingers, what's going to happen is, because I'm putting the tension, especially on the smaller finger side, what's going to happen is these weaken the grip a little bit. So when this goes off, now this is a 4-ton shot shell in here, okay? It's a shotgun shell, it's a small caliber shotgun shell, and it really throws a big kick. So if I don't have the strength primarily in those 2 fingers here, and I'm we're trying to grip tight down in here, what's going to happen is that gun's going to rise and I'm going to be off target in some way or another. Okay, so I want to make sure that when I lock in that these two fingers are the power fingers, so when I go into that grip, this gun doesn't lift as readily. And again, I still have the dexterity of that finger. Okay, so even on a big handle, it's going to be these two fingers that really do the work for me. So that's a little bit of an idea that emanated from the seizing techniques from the iron claw hand, and going into a little bit more control factor and working it through not just your hand sets. You have to be very adaptable. You might have to pick up a bottle, a stick. If you have a knife, you have to pick that up, or you have a baton, or you're even shooting your pistol, you have to draw. That index finger has to be ready to go onto that trigger. So if it's not loose and dexterous, as your other two fingers withdraw that weapon, then you're going to be at a loss. So practicing it in your seizing, your baton, or your weapon work in your martial arts class, and finally into your handgun situations, you're going to have a much better control. You would have already developed the muscle memory, the muscle strength, the dexterity, and the control that you're looking for. So again, explaining not just Kyusho targets, we have to explain the tools as well. And this is a great tool to use. Again, just the Spidey grip, if you've been to one of my seminars, okay, that'll get you there. Okay, good luck with it.